Good evening. Good evening. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. As you can see, I'm fresh with my Scottish colours on. You know what I mean? Part of the union. I've actually worn these in Glasgow Square, the Glasgow Green. Around Glasgow, I've worn this at. And then I've had people a year later saying, "Oh, I've seen you in Glasgow." There you go. Big John's here. Welcome to the show. We're bigging up Scotland this week. We've got our mate Ian Gibson on from the ADF. How are you, Ian?
Thanks very much for having me on, John. Yeah, really good. A bit Jack Frost up in the north this week, but not really good. Good, thanks for having me on.
And of course, we've got our mighty regulars, Paul Rimmer and Stuart Boniface. Good evening, lads.
Evening, Jock.
Good evening, everybody.
Now, let me just tell you, I always do this bit of a spiel. We was warned. The signs were already there about digital ID, digital technology, the way things are going to go. And as per usual, we only wake up at the very end when they're going to roll it out. But Ian mentioned earlier on David Icke. David Icke has been warning us for 15 years. You've had books come out written, Oscar Wilde's 1984, a bit like that. And if you would have watched the kind of movies we have and stuff,
it was like George Orwell, John.
George Orwell. And if you look at the kind of movies we have, the spy movies and all that, they're telling you what's coming, and it's here. Is it too late? What can we do? Ian, what do you think?
I think the writing has been on the wall for a long time. Like most things, like you were saying, people don't really wake up, or they don't really start thinking about it or worrying about it until it starts to kind of impeach into their world. And I think a lot of people have seen it recently with the kind of new digital setup for businesses online. You see it with all the kind of amalgamation of different things. And what was really concerning, I seen this week that they're trying to slip legislation through Parliament just now that would give the government the power that if you do not sign your child up for the digital ID, the government and the social worker have the power to come and take your kid off you. Not because you're neglecting them, not because you're a bad parent, but because you refuse to give them a digital passport. And that's the kind of government overreach that we've seen, we've been warned about. Like you were saying, we've got 1984. There's also great books on it like Stasiland and the Gulag a Cappella, which when you read them, we're at the starting points of these books right now. We know even back before the Berlin Wall fell, we knew that the technology was there for monitoring all the people because they were doing it back then. They were doing it at the other side of the wall. And now it's getting to the point in the UK that you're not going to be able to do anything without being tracked and your score marked along the way. We see the impact that has in China. And people, but that's in China. Right now, there's people getting arrested in the UK for what they're saying on Twitter. So to think that we're that far away from China, it's a bit naive to say the least. We're having a march up in Glasgow on the 24th of January at Glasgow Green. We're meeting up, and we're going to basically just kind of make some noise and let people know what we're all about. Because it is what we are at the point now where a lot of people are like, oh, you can't do anything, or politics isn't the answer. Well, tell me what the answer is, other than mobilising the people, and other than because it's one of those that kind of feels like you're either the person that's making the decisions or you're the person that's getting the decisions forced upon you. So people can say, I'm not interested in politics, or there's nothing that you can do. But as far as I can see, the only other option would be civil war. So we need to use all the resources at our hands just now before it gets to that extreme. I hope we can stop it. I really do. I hope we're in a position where it's not gone too far. I don't know if we're past that point of no return just yet, but I really do hope that there is something that we can do.
Yeah, definitely. You know, there is something we can do. We can resist this, but people have got to be strong. You know what I mean? And you know, we're so entwined into digital things now. And don't tell me that people don't use a phone to tap and things like that. Don't tell me that people don't use a phone to order stuff. I know we've got dinosaurs and stuff like that who can't use the phones, but you know, my phone is my life because I'm a media person. I stream all the time and I take videos. So I need my phone and I need that digital communication. I do. But, you know, we're entwined with it. We've got to do better. Paul?
I think Ian hit the nail on the head there. Government overreach. I mean, he also mentioned the Gulag Archipelago. This is totalitarianism. This is total control. This is what all governments desire. Now, if you're in a functioning democracy where you have different voices allowed to express themselves and open debate, there's a bit of security there. But as we saw under COVID, government now is about manipulation. Starmer doesn't seem to be interested in what public opinion is. He's got his majority and he's acting like an elected dictator. And I think his opinion poll rating now is about 11%. People loathe the guy, but he's just pushing things through. He's about to push through this, bringing us back into the European single market, which will mean all sorts of regulations and rules will be coming back over from Brussels, you know, that we've just escaped from. And this digital ID is another aspect of that. If you get a government which is in effect an elected dictatorship, who believes their only goal is to control the people. And of course, we've been lied to, haven't we, ever since the Second World War, really, about mass immigration. I mean, when Blair took over, he began a systematic destruction of Britain, really. He brought in people from all over the world, from Pakistan, from Africa, from the Middle East, millions and millions of people. There's now over 24 million immigrants in this country. Or, you know, so we're being totally transformed as a country. They've deliberately destroyed the nature of this country. And now, of course, Christianity has been kicked off the throne and we're putting Islam on the throne. King Charles, he seems to be part of this WEF agenda. And digitalization, which could be a force for good, suddenly becomes very threatening. Because anyone who dissents from what this ruling oligarchy wants can be just wiped out effectively. Without a digital ID in a digital totalitarian society, you won't be able to do anything. You won't be able to buy food. You won't be able to access any government services. You probably won't be able to pay your rent. You become a non-person. It's like in the Middle Ages, if you got excommunicated, you became a non-person. You had no rights and no stance. You didn't have no bearing in society. You were just, people could kill you once you've been excommunicated because you were no longer a member of the community. You were no longer protected by the laws. And they can do that with digitalization. They can actually exclude us as people. And, you know, as Ian said, in China, we see this. You know, this totalitarian system. And we don't want, that's not the nature of our society. We're a freedom-loving people. Freedom. The Arbroath Declaration in Scotland. Freedom in Britain goes back to the 14th century. You know, we're liberty or death. We value our liberty and our freedom, and we've got to assert it. Don't be bullied by these people. They try and control your speech. We saw it all during COVID. They wouldn't allow any dissenting voices. They wouldn't allow any dissenting opinions. If you did dissent, they try and forced everyone to get the vaccine. I never got the vaccine, and we fought back. But the police criminalised our dissent. When we had marches and when we rallied, the police criminalised our dissent. And this is what they'll use digital ID for. We don't trust the government. The government, like they said, they were, you know, it was about our health and we had to push through all this COVID stuff to protect the people. They don't care about the people. They have their own agenda. They care about themselves and the ruling oligarchy. And therefore, we cannot allow them to have complete control over our lives. Stuart.
And I think that's... Sorry, Paul. I think that's what we forget as well. People seem to think that this digital ID's just come out of nowhere. We forget that they've systematically been destroying the country so that they could force these measures in and make it sound like they're doing it to help people. So you look at all the problems within the UK just now, whether it be the immigration situation, the NHS, the police force, the schools, the social work, every aspect of Britain has been systematically decimated so that they can then go, here's a digital ID that's going to fix all these problems. So that's what a lot of people think. Oh, digital ID could be quite a good thing because whatever reason, there are some reasons to have like digital ID, right? I would never get one, right? But there are some good arguments for it. But what they have done now is they've created a situation with immigration, with not being able to get an appointment with a hospital, with the roads being a terrible state, that it's going to be, if you don't have this digital ID, you're not going to be able to deal with any of these matters directly. And that's what I forget sometimes as well, that it's been the digital ID is just the last step on this kind of, not even the last step, it's just the next step. But the systematic destruction of Britain as a whole has been done so that people will not fight against this. And I think that's what I forget sometimes. Sometimes you just think this is government overreach, but it's not. It's been forced into a position so that we'll accept it as a people and we'll go, we're all right with our rights getting taken away as long as it's going to protect us. And the biggest one that does scare the life out of me, in Britain especially, is free speech. Because if you can't speak your mind, if you can't assemble, then you don't live in a free country. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, I have to agree with every word you said there, Ian. Without free speech, you don't have anything. Without free rights to protest, you don't have freedom. When your government doesn't fear you, you're in problems. The government needs to fear the people. We need to stand up collectively as a people against this digital ID. It's not for anybody's safety. They'll push it. Oh, it'll stop the boats. Lies. Oh, it'll protect children. Lies. Look at the degeneracy within our society. If you wanted to remove pornography, you ban it. There are ways that they can stop it on the internet coming in, because there's things that get posted on for, say, X. They can see it in America, but you can't see it here because of restrictions. So it can be done. They can shut down the internet if they wanted to, and that'll bugger us all up on social media, because that's the way that we're communicating now. We're not going to the pub. The pubs have been decimated. The pubs were the meeting place for men to sit and moan. Yeah, all blokes moan. Come over at the end of the day. In the olden days, yeah, they'd go for a pint or two. They'd moan with their mates. Within that system, people spoke collectively within their communities, not only just what affected their communities at a community level, but also as a national level. I mean, you only have to look back to the Tolpod of Martyrs. You know, we've lost unions, and that way we've also lost communities through the degeneration of our society. It's under attack from all angles. Yes, mass immigration is one big topic, but we need to look at ourselves. We've lost our morals. We don't teach kids morals at schools. We teach them that they can be, I don't know, 72 genders now, or a cat if they want to. And the worst thing is, you've got 40, 50, 60-year-old teachers that are teaching it. Not just allowing it, go, oh, I'll brush it to one side, I just don't want to think about it. They're actually teaching it. So I think John or Paul said, the demolition of our society, mass immigration, etc., started after the war. But I think it also started after the war, the social aspect, the degeneration of our society, removal of Christ from schools, the basic morals that Christianity taught me, my parents taught me, or I had one atheist, one devout, so I learned both ways. You know, I've got a rational mind, and I took all the good things that I feel makes me a good person. And that's being lost when you've got teachers that are teaching your kids at the age of 4 or 5 to go around with a pride, celebrating multi-genders. It's hideous. And until we start fixing that, coming together, we need to, yes, we need to protect children. We need to protect ourselves from online scams, etc. Well, you just teach that. You teach that awareness, the same as you teach morals, values. And when you have mass immigration, those people coming in have a different set of morals and values, and it's not interconnecting. And until we get some cohesion within society, we don't stand a chance. And I believe that it starts at a local level, talking to local people. You know, my town is multicultural. We've got different people from different cultures, very nice people.
Everywhere's the same now, Stuart.
Absolutely.
We've invaded the whole country.
It's where I believe that first they came into the cities. Now, the cities have the most councils. The cities have the most MPs. So once you take over the cities, and as, what was it, I can't remember her name. She was the Vice Prime Minister, the ginger-haired one.
Angela Rayner.
That's the
Angela
one.
Rayner.
Yeah.
Deputy, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, a couple of years ago, she said, well, now the cities are done, we're going to spread, everybody's going to have them all around the country.
Well, it's been happening for decades. But the thing is, Stuart, they're getting back to digital ID and control. There's this aspect now of the war in the Ukraine. For the past 5 years, they've been trying to whip up a war fever in this country. They want to conscript us and send us off to fight. That's their goal. And like a guy from Israel said recently, America's got to get rid of, I think it's the First Amendment, is it? The right to free speech? Because they won't be able to mobilize the population for war if they allow free speech. This is what it's all about. It's about controlling who was able to build a narrative, who's able to express themselves, because they have to whip us up into a war fever. They did it before the First World War, they did it before the Second World War, they did it before the Gulf War, before the War on Terror. Of course, they'll use atrocities, things like the 9/11. Again, that needs to be questioned. But this is all about controlling us so they can use us. And they want a war. And this is digital ID will give them complete control of the population because you won't be able to hide. They will conscript us, and they will be able. Anyone who will not be allowed, who will oppose conscription, they can simply cut off their access to food, to accommodation, to money. As I say, they can make it a non-person. How do you see that unfolding, Ian?
Well, one of the things that terrified the life out of me was, I don't know if you remember back during when the Canadian truckers were out protesting in Canada. One of the things that terrified the life out of me was, obviously they debanked all the truckers first, right? But then what they done was they debanked anybody that donated to the truckers, right? So not even people that are actively protesting, not even people that are out in the streets, but people that were going, well, the boys are out protesting, I'm going to send them 50 quid for rolls or for soup or whatever. They froze all the bank accounts for everybody. So even if you were showing like sideline support for these people, you get debanked immediately. There was no due process. There was no nothing. You had no access to your own money instantly, and that is where the digital ID. Because I personally think it's going to be more sinister. That, like, obviously I think the conscription is going to be a massive part of it, because they're going to tell young boys in this country that you need to go to war. You need to do 2 years national service, and if you don't, you'll be blacklisted on this digital ID. They're also going to start things like carbon credits for how many miles your car drives, for how many pounds of beef you eat in the year, for how many holidays you get. I seen on one of the samples for the digital ID, you're going to be able to grass on your neighbours for all sorts of infractions, whether it be parking somewhere wrong or littering or whatever else. What you're trying to do is, and again, the kind of best example that I've read of it was in Stasiland. What they're trying to do is they're trying to mobilise all the people to turn them against each other. so they don't need the same numbers because everybody's telling on each other, and then it creates a social credit score type system which nobody's going to benefit from. So they're going to fire it under the guise that you can get better healthcare because you've got this digital ID. They're going to under the guise that we're going to be able to monitor the illegal immigrants coming into the country. The fact is, they know where the illegal immigrants in the country are. They're trying to say it's going to make jobs more secure. The fact is, you can't work in the UK without a national insurance number or something that's been given to you from. So they're making these excuses that for problems that aren't even real problems. And all the problems that they're making the excuses for are problems that they have created. You see it, obviously, we see it in Scotland under the SNP, but you see it all over the UK. The roads are a state, the drainage systems are a state. There's not one part of Britain right now that I could put my hand on and go, that's functioning properly for the people of Britain. There's not one infrastructure that I can, like, I've actually thought about it long and hard. Down south, you have got major problems, even with your water, since the privatisation of water. Up here, we've got public water, but we've still got the same problems. But I cannot think of one public service which we're taxed, the highest taxed nation in the world. I can't think of one public service that's functioning the way it's supposed to. I genuinely can't. People aren't being housed. People aren't being treated for medically in the time they need to be. So then what you've got is you've got more people waiting on hospital waiting lists than are actually contributing citizens to the tax system. And these are all, and then what you will see is you'll see people like us that they'll just say, you're no longer a person. You're not going with our narrative. That's it. Your digital ID is blocked. You'll not be able to work. You'll not be able to buy petrol for your car. You'll not be able to do anything because everything will be controlled through this digital passport on your phone. But yeah, it terrifies the life out of me, especially with the placid attitude at which they're approaching it and the way in which we've seen it. Obviously, we've seen it with some kind of big figures in the UK where they've debanked them. But for me, the scarier part is I believe it was 2,000 people were arrested last year for social media posts. So when you've got the brass ones to go and arrest people for something they're saying on Twitter or on Facebook, because as far as I'm concerned, nobody's got a right not to be offended, right? If something causes you offence, that's a you problem. It's not a me problem. And we're in a world now where people who are being offended are in control of the narrative, and it doesn't work. So we are going to get to a position where if you say a naughty word on Twitter or Facebook, there's a black mark on your name. You'll no longer be able to get meat. That's your weekly meat allowance cut because you've not stuck. And then it will get to a point where free thinking people that don't want to conform just will have to work out with the norm. They'll have to source their food other places. They'll have to basically go to the black market to survive.
Well, what they say about people like you, Ian, is that you're a conspiracy theorist, you're paranoid. This is just a functional thing. It's the way of the future. It's a technology of the future. But what they miss out is that the police and the state have been totally complicit in this attack on free speech, and that it's all politically motivated. I mean, I've been arrested 3 times, but supposedly hate speech and supposedly breach of the peace and so on. Each time I've been found not guilty. They were just fabricated political charges. Now, I was able to defend myself and I had the confidence to defend myself. A lot of people haven't. We saw that when we had the riots after the Southport murders.
Yeah,
the way they framed people there. I locked them up for years. The first thing is never plead guilty. Never plead guilty. Now, we saw also when the Democrats were in charge in America that they weaponized the state against their opponents. And they put, thousands of people in prison. I mean, Trump let out something like 4,000 people when he became president who'd been arrested and charged and imprisoned on drummed up political charges. You cannot trust these people. They have not got our best interest at heart. They're serving different gods. We don't live in a functioning democracy. The political parties do not listen to the people. The political system has been manipulated for a long time. And it's like Tweedledee and Tweedledum, Labour and the Tories. They're in it together. They're serving globalism. They're serving the WEF. They're serving international finance. They're serving the big global institutions, the multinational, corporations. This is who they're serving, and they're all bought and paid for. Now, the only way you can counteract that is to have a popular voice, to have, like they have in America, a MAGA army. People on the march who are willing to hold them to account and challenge them and beat them at the polls. I mean, John said you're a member of the ADF, the Alliance for Democracy and Freedom. These are important. We have to join these organisations. We've got Reform now, but Reform, they're playing the system. They're trying to get their position within the system. We need dissenting voices. Reform exclude dissenting voices. They cancel dissenting voices. It's sad, but this is the truth. I mean, none of us could join Reform, but we've got to be politically active. We've got to take every opportunity we can to express ourselves. Go on, Ian.
That is the real hard message to get out there to people, because there's so many people that are disenfranchised with politics and whatever. And myself, I was one of those people. Right? I don't want to be a politician. Never wanted to be a politician. I even hate thinking of myself as a politician. I would consider myself a public servant if I was ever elected, right? But we're in a situation now where there's a lot of people that are seeing a lot of things going wrong, and I was sick of being one of those people and then not doing anything about it. So I was sick of seeing, because it's kind of rubbish once you have seen behind the curtain, because it is then you're like a conspiracy theorist or not, or whatever the case may be. But if I'm honest, I've ran out of conspiracy theories now, because everything that I thought was a conspiracy theory has now been proven fact. And it's like you were saying as well. See if we trusted our government. See if we had faith in the people that led us. Digital ID wouldn't really be a concern. I mean, it wouldn't really be an issue. The problem I have is the people that are holding the trigger. They've shown time and time again that they don't care about the people. They've shown it from their actions. They've shown it from everything that they do, that they just don't care. And like you say, we couldn't join. I do have I like Reform as a movement, because I know how many unbelievably good people are within the movement. But it does concern me that the leader has been part of the fray for the last 30 years. Right? It does, because we've seen it with Conservative and Labour. It doesn't matter who's in. The same policies get forced through, but just with a different kind of selling point. It's like, we'll push digital ID, but we're going to push it for immigration, whereas the Labour are going to push it for like hospitals and social issues. It's like they're being crude. They're two cheeks of the same arse. And my real concern with Reform is that they've already been embedded in that system. So are they going to be any different? And like we were saying about the smaller parties, that's one of the things I love about the Belmont Accord as well, which the Housing Party are in. We need to ask smaller parties, ask common sense people. We need to go, how can we assist other commonsensical people and stop playing their game, where rather than fighting the people that are at the top and the globalists, we're fighting the people that are on the same level. Because we've seen it with Starmer. He said that his loyalty is to Davos. He would rather take orders for Davos than the UK Parliament. We know where their loyalties lie. Richie Sunak and Keir Starmer were both WEF young leaders. Do you know what I mean? So these people can pretend to be on opposite sides of the aisle, and they can pretend to have the issues, but we've seen time and time again that none of them can stick to the word. Every single political party that's been voted in the last 10 election cycles has promised to reduce immigration. Every single one, and not one of them has succeeded in that task. So it's like I say, the digital ID wouldn't be a concern if we trusted the government, but the fact is we know our government's out to beat us.
Can I just jump in on the free speech and Twitter X as it is now? I don't know if people are aware that a couple of weeks ago they changed their terms and conditions to match the same as Google and all of that. So basically anything now that you post, or even in your drafts, can be used against you. They can be given to a government at a government request. Just like that. No hands up or anything. And if, say, I don't know, let's say you've been running your business through your social media. You lose your business. then wrangles, you go through all the procedures, and it's found out that you're okay. It's absolutely fine. You're reinstated. It's now in their conditions that you can only claim $100 compensation. That is it. $100 compensation. If you don't agree to the terms, you can't use the app. So I would say to diversify if you can. YouTube is one way, but they have their own limitations. Rumble's another way. There's a new app coming out, or is in early stages, called Nostra, which it uses another app, and everything is end-to-end encoded, but not only end-to-end, it can't be picked up in the middle. So it's a new, I've just been looking into it. I don't know how good it is yet. I'm in the early stages of just having a look at it and see what it does and everything. But it seems to be more on a personal level. So once you connect with someone, you can then connect to their friends, and then you can expand your group. I'll let you get in, John. You're muted, John.
You're on mute, John. You're muted.
Of course, sorry, guys. Welcome to the show. Thank you very much. Please like and subscribe to the channel. PayPal us if you want to put some money in for our leaflets. But so we'll just stay on Stuart, but I'm just going to say a couple of things. So obviously, with digital technology, there's software used and there's computer companies and all that lot. And one of them mentioned is Palantir. And if you can look into the history of Palantir, it's about 20 years old. It's about 20 years old. And they've probably started up, designed to work to this moment where they're going to be doing software for police and its Stuart and National Health Service and stuff like that. And you heard Ian saying about like cutting you off from getting this and getting that other. With all that data, they know every little thing that you do. They probably know which way you go to work. They probably know how much fuel you use a week in your car going back and forth. They'll know all this data. So these software companies, 20 years old, Palantir. Have you got anything to say about Palantir, Stuart?
Yeah, absolutely. From what I've been learning online and through people much more educated than myself, the money came from the CIA, the Pentagon, whichever, both. So it's a CIA, American DOD initiative, or should I say DOW now, because it's Department of War, not Department of Defense. So yeah, it's been about 22 years old when it was first started up. It's similar to how the internet was started. You're told that the internet, it started, some guy in his garage invented it and blah blah blah. No, it's all deep state, if you want to call it, globalist, whatever. I did send you, John, a list of Palantir contracts on WhatsApp, and there's a list there. Most of them are current, 730 million. Also sent there was also a picture which showed like the government connection. So the government are openly admitting, that it's all connected with Palantir. And I think there was 3 police forces that they've got contracts with now already with their data collection. They're also, that's the one. Yeah, there's that list. So that's about a year old, I think, now. So they've taken on a lot more. I don't know if you've seen in some reports of the old, can't think of the word now. The drones. The drones that have been going out over cities. They're not just cameras. They pick up your data from your phone, for instance. They know the way you walk. They know the way where you go, your body temperature, everything. They are collecting as much data on everyone as possible, because as much data as possible is the way that they can control you. So with digital ID, if we go over to digital ID, it is obviously going to be connected to a digital currency. With that digital currency also comes algorithmic pricing. I don't know if anyone's heard of this before, but let's say I'm a really nice, good boy and I keep to all the rules and everything. I go into a shop, a pie, mate. Let's say a pie cost me £2. Let's say the next week I've been on social media and I've been doing some of this stuff going on and I've been moaning about digital ID or whatever. I've been a naughty boy. I go into that same shop, that £2 pie, it's now £3, and there is nothing you can do about it. So if we go over to a digital currency, and they do, and under the Conservatives, they spent 50 million laying the foundation, not just for a digital currency, but also a universal basic income. So us being flooded with lots and lots of people already on universal credit, the more people we get onto the social aspect, the bigger the push will be for universal basic income that will be digitalised and fully controlled, and therefore it will control us. And it's not as if the data is going to English companies so that they can do a bit of marketing, sell you this, sell you that. It's beyond that. It's full global control, because it's along it. Pretty much every country of the world's doing it. It's ridiculous. Now go back to COVID. When COVID started, whenever there's been a disease in the past, you know, you get over it. It's never been worldwide, and it's never been a worldwide lockstep reaction. And that was the wording they called it, lockstep. So they're lockstepping the whole of the UN, what do they call it, how the UN's going to preserve the world and save the world from all us carbon creators, to be honest with you. You're already seeing it. If
Well, that's another scam, isn't it? The old climate change agenda.
Yeah, and you see on food now, you can pick it up, and a lot of labelling now is coming with how much carbon footprint it's used. So not only are you going to be digitalised on your income and controlled that way, you're going to be also controlled by your carbon footprint. It's all linked together, and it's there to, as you've said, Paul, absolute full control. And before I leave it, people out there, if you can, I know it's the start of the year, chuck in some money, we'll get some leaflets out and get the movement going. Thank you very much.
One quick thing before we go to Paul that Stuart said. Other people will get our data. So what will that mean? It'll mean it'll be easier for them to shut you down. It'd be easy for the Zionists and the Friends of Israel to shut particular people down in the UK. You know what I mean? Which they already do, but it'll be more easy, and that is detrimental to everybody who's in the UK, no matter what race, religion, colour, ethnicity. We're doomed when we let that information go. Over to you, Paul.
Yeah, I want to ask Ian about policing now. Not just policing, but also the legal side of it. I mean, given that they're going to move towards non-jury trials, we're seeing that the police in Scotland are now going to actually employ illegal immigrants. The police are not accountable to the people anymore. The courts are going to be separated from the people. And therefore, the people who are going to police the use of all this digital ID and stuff, the accountability is going to be lost. How do you see that unfolding, Ian?
Oh, hold on, hold on,
oh,
hold on. Let's play the video. 40 seconds.
And here's another pitch. Our refugees, our asylum seekers, our new Scots are very much part of our communities, and I want to see them become part of Police Scotland too. I want to see them take up jobs as police officers and police staff. I also, and this isn't in my script, I have to say, I also want to think that at some point one day, not perhaps just yet, but one day, the person standing here speaking about the work that Police Scotland is doing as a Deputy Chief Constable will have come to this country as a new Scot, as a refugee or an asylum seeker.
Oh, blimey. Ian, how do you handle that?
Can I just jump in? Sorry, just to add to the judicial side of it, Labour wants 18-year-olds, 18, to sign up to become magistrates. So you can have a magistrate who's going to bang you up, no jury trials, and they're 18-year-olds with no life experience, straight out of school, being taught where they're taught. It's absolutely ridiculous. I'll let somebody else jump in because I've yakkered enough.
Ian, how do you put up with that copper woman saying that?
We've seen the politicising in the police force probably more than used, to be honest, because we get the hate crime bill under Hamza Yusuf about 18 months ago. So we've seen the over politicisation of our police force massively. We lost a lot of control of our police when they all amalgamated. So we used to have, I think it was 6 or 8 different police forces, and what that done was it gave kind of each police force the ability to kind of work on their own individual area, but also have their own kind of leadership structure. And then when it all got amalgamated, everyone all just get forced into one. And the police force in Scotland are now just an arm of the SNP. They're just a politically motivated police force. One of the problems, like I've got no problem with legal immigration. I think it's gone a bit far. But one of the problems that we're seeing now with the kind of mass immigration is that when you think 20, 30 years ago, somebody came to this country, they assimilated to this country. They took upon this country's language. They took upon the country's core values. They may not have been Christian, but they understood that they were living in a Christian country. The problem that we've got now is that people are coming here. They don't need to learn the language because some of these boroughs, they don't speak the language. They don't need to assimilate to the schools because their kids can go to school and speak their native tongue without any issue. They don't have to assimilate in terms of working because we've seen them abuse the benefit system. So for me, that's the real problem. I would have no problem with some of the Sikhs from the 70s and 80s joining the police force, but it sounds like, and we've seen it in Ireland, actually, I've got a lot of family in the Republic of Ireland, the Irish police force actually actively went out to countries like Pakistan, Iran, Iraq to recruit police officers. And this kind of sounds like what's happening with the Scottish police force, whether they're already here and they're recruiting them actively, and it also seems to be a lot of these people are being recruited, they've got military backgrounds, and that's what we're seeing as well. So it kind of it's scary. It's scary because I'm going to be honest, in Scotland, I don't feel like the police force have our back at all. I know there's a lot of good policemen and women out there, and see when you speak to them, you also see that they're being buried in paperwork. Their job has been made in such a way that they're not supposed to be community policing. They're supposed to be almost kind of letting it get bad so that when the solutions come, they can say, oh, we've got solutions. And it's just the SNP's policy for everything. It's like, let's break as much as we can and blame Westminster for it. And that's what we've seen. We've seen it. They were trying to get rid of, Hamza Yusuf was trying to get rid of the jury trials up here as well. And the hate crime bill is one of the worst pieces of legislation I've ever seen in my life. Because what they do is, even if you're not guilty of a crime, they still put it on your record as a non-confirmed hate crime incident. So even if you've done nothing wrong, you're still getting a criminal record. It's still getting put on your search if you ever go to get a job or anything like that. It's that you were investigated for it. Not that you were found guilty or that you done anything wrong, but that somebody had basically reported you for a hate incident. And then the way they've worded hate, there's no explanation of what hate is. It's so open to interpretation. It's scary because hate can be anything. Right? Hate can be absolutely anything. So they've created a law that they can arrest people that say something they dislike. And that's what we're seeing in Scotland. That video there is terrifying as well, because it's like Scotland needs to be policed by people that understand the community, people that understand Scotland and its culture. And when you start bringing in foreign police forces, you're going to end up with them enforcing the rules of their own country, and we're going to end up with Sharia law.
Well, what you've got to say there, Ian, is that what she was saying, I hope that I'm replaced the deputy chief constable, the chief constable, with refugees and immigrants. This isn't about people coming into our country to make a contribution. This is about replacement immigration. This is about the colonization and takeover of our country. You just said there about hate crimes. We were always accused of hate crimes. 99.9% are white males. It's used to criminalise white men. Occasionally, white women get pulled in, but it's very rare that you'll see a Muslim or an Arab, any sort of Arab or African or Chinaman pulled in. It's always the native population who are being accused, because it's our nation that is being stolen. It is our wealth that is being stolen. It is our freedom which is being taken away, and we feel it. That's why we raise a protest against it, because we recognise what's going on. Now, thankfully, in America, there's a full-scale insurrection against all this nonsense, woke nonsense. But with Starmer in Britain and this unaccountable Labour government, unaccountable SNP government, this is why reform are actually very important, because they're going to break the political mould. I mean, we know that reform have got limitations, and we're not sure how effective they'll be at bringing about any changes. But they're going to break the cosy consensus in Edinburgh and in Westminster. And this is what we've got to be about. We've got to, I was involved with the BNP in the in the 2000s, 2005, 6, 7. And we frightened the elite because we were a populist party. Of course, they'll demonise us. As I say, they'll call us paranoid, conspiracy theorists, whatever. But they don't want to be held accountable to the public. This is what democracy is about. Those people who have power over us, they want to maximise their power to control us. We need to have maximum power to hold them to account and say, are you working in our interests, or are you stepping all over us? We're not peasants. We're not serfs. We're freeborn Englishmen. We're freeborn Scotsmen. We're freeborn Britons. And we have the right to assert ourselves. Now, I want to go back to the First World War, right? The First World War is really important because that's when they introduced conscription. That's when they whipped up this nation into a frenzy to go and fight this crazy war. Why did we fight the First World War? Does anyone know? We fought it to defend Belgium. Belgium, of all places. 1 million Britons were killed in the defence of Belgium. It was all a farce. Now, they were happy to see our lads go over the top and be slaughtered on the Somme and on the battlefields of the north of France. Over 1 million lads lost their lives to machine gun fire. They were conscripted. They had no choice. Just as in Ukraine now, Zelensky is conscripting Ukrainian people. They don't want to fight this war. They get conscripted. And that's what they want to do. That's the sort of control they want. And we were always taught that to be born an Englishman or a Briton was to win first prize in the lottery of life. We were a special people, and we had this freedom because we had liberty, and we had our faith, and we had our nationhood. They're taking all these valuable things away from us. And what they're putting in the place is this digital control. And the promise, and this is going to bring a utopia where there'll be order and where everything will be accountable. But in fact, it'll be the exact opposite because we cannot trust these people. And this is the essence of it, trust. Who do people trust up in Scotland, Ian?
Not many people, to be honest. There's very there's nobody. It's actually sad. It's sad to think as a nation that there's not really anybody up here that there's certainly no politicians that you could look at and go, what we are finding now, we're finding our church leaders are kind of starting to get a bit more respect and a bit more notoriety. But in terms of at local government levels and that, there's not much trust to be had up in Scotland at all. And it's a shame because the young boys and the young boys and lasses in this country should have something to aspire to. Like, can you imagine if we had a prime minister or a first minister that was actually a good human being, and that you could go as a child in this country, go, I'd love to be the prime minister, I'd love to be doing that. Do you know what I mean? But we've lost all our idols, we've lost all our heroes, we've forgot our history, we've forgotten what we've done for the world, and we've almost been kind of shamed into thinking that we're bad. We've been shamed into a position where it's like the British people as a whole are terrible. And I don't feel that way at all. I feel that we've delivered a lot to the world. I'm not sorry. We ended slavery. We fought 2 world wars, like you were saying. We
don't have to justify ourselves, Ian. We're decent people, and we have to assert ourselves. We have to assert ourselves. This is why parties like this and broadcasts like this are so important. What was that, Ian? Do you want to say that again?
Yeah, like I think it's more important now than ever. We need to stand up for the rights that our forefathers did fight for. Like the fact is that people never went to war so that we could not say what we want to say in our own country, in our own home. And again, you're seeing it more and more. Every little step's an overreach. So it used to be, if you're caught in public saying something, then you can get in trouble because you're in public. Now it can be in your own house. If your kids overhear you, or if your neighbour overhears you, every single step's just one step closer to putting everybody in a box so that they can't do anything. And like you were saying, Paul, we need to have these conversations because it's going to happen with us or without us.
Tell us about this demo on the 28th, Ian.
24th of January at 1 o'clock. It's a Resist Digital ID march. We're meeting at the Glasgow Green at the Monument. And we're a couple of really good speakers. I'll be speaking myself. Not that I consider myself a really good speaker, but there's some really good speakers at it. And it's hopefully what my intention is obviously to kind of reiterate what I've said tonight about my concerns about digital ID, and also to try and get the people that are out marching at least involved in some form of politics. I'm not expecting everybody out canvassing. I'm not expecting everybody to go hard at wanting to be elected or wanting to be politicians. But what I do need to press on people is that activism without a purpose is not worth anybody's time. And really, we need to start mobilising the activists because they already see what's going wrong in the world. They know digital ID. And with digital ID, most people know it's a mistake. So the good thing is that everybody is kind of outraged at this. So the potential's there, but we also need to find a way to convert the people that are willing to go and stand in the rain and protest against that, and to convert them into people that are politically minded. Because you need, like I said, you're either cooking the dinner or you're in the dinner. There's no other way to look at it. So people are like, we can't be involved in politics. You need to be involved in politics because there's no other way out. We were a democratic nation.
As well, that we get just out of the cyberspace and get back into reality, into the real world. And this is what these demos are about, connecting people together, meeting people, seeing people in the flesh. I mean, I met you, Ian, didn't I, in Crewe? And it was great.
Yeah.
It's great. You encourage each other when you see each other like that.
You bounce off each other with your energy, and see after that Crewe meeting, I was almost kind of, when I come up the road, I felt fantastic. I'm like, that meeting felt brilliant. There was enough people in that room that have got a footprint, and enough people in that room that if we work together, we can actually achieve something. And when I left that meeting down in Crewe, I genuinely felt positive about it for the first time in a long time. Because see, sometimes the political game, it can be nothing but negative all the time because you're getting attacked left and right. People are bringing you down. People don't want to see you doing well because you are telling the uncomfortable truth. So when we were down in Crewe, it was so good to see so many different parties, which, like I've said it before, we're not going to agree on everything. We never are. We're human beings. I can't really agree with, I couldn't agree with my neighbour on 10 things, do you know what I mean? But the fact is that we can agree on what matters. We can agree on what is really important. And the other stuff, if I'm honest, like all the stuff that we don't agree on, we can talk about that at a later date. But until we save freedom of speech, until we save jury trials, until we stop the dictators dictating, there's not really much else we can do. And the only way to do that right now is through political means. And then down the line, the only way that if the political means don't work, it will need to be some form of civil war, whether it's civil disobedience, whether it's mass protests, whether it's everybody turning the electricity off at the same time. We need to let these people know that we will not bow meekly into the cold. We'll stand up and we'll make their lives miserable.
Well, in America, they have arms. In this country, we're unarmed. In America, they have the First Amendment, the right to free speech. I mean, Keir Starmer says we've got free speech, but people who use it are getting lifted, you know. But we have to exercise these things, and we have to assert ourselves. And, you know, we've got to stand in elections. We've got to challenge people. John, you're a political activist.
Yeah, we've got to start. You know, I just want to go on when we went to Crewe to the Belmont Accords. Yes, definitely. A really good meet. We had a particular party we had there was the Freedom Alliance run by CAF, formerly run by, I forget his name, but this was a party that I thought of joining me in the Batley by-election time. You know, I interviewed them, I seen what they wanted and stuff like that. And CAF's going to do really well in the Wirral. She's got 20 candidates running across the Wirral. And, you know, it was great to meet the others, you know, and it did feel, you know, I didn't feel like I was meeting these people for the first time. I felt like I was meeting my extended family I hadn't seen for a few years. That's how it felt. You know what I mean? It wasn't a first time thing. And like Ian said, I was buzzing me for the next couple of days in my head with the people I met and stuff like that. And we need to get a bit more involved. There is ways we can solve the issues that we've got now, but we need to come together to solve it. You know, we can't just do it on our own. We do need to come together, you know, and that's what we want. I just want to say, if you're in Scotland, you go in Glasgow Green, it's going to be a fantastic day. I tell you, they don't disappoint in Glasgow. I've spent several years going up and down there, and I've not been to like a demo that's small or tiny. Every time it's always big. They do have good speakers. There is a few people up there I want to hook up with, actually, so I will be sending a few messages, but I'm hoping to be there on 24th. So get involved with us. Join our party. Look into our information. We've already put stuff in the link. I put the ADF in the chat already. Our party's in the chat. Come together, guys, because, you know, we can deal with things if we come together. But thank you, everyone in the chat. Thank you, Jackie, Vinny, Pat's been on. Thank you, Paul Jones. God bless you, mate. Thank you very much. A lot of chatting there, Paul. Thank you. And everyone else. Pat's been in as NHP UK press office. Don't forget, guys, we go every Tuesday, 8 p.m, and we talk the big topics. You know, I don't know what we're talking about next week, but I'll look into that. But Ian, thank you for coming on, mate. Any last words?
Just thanks very much for having me. We need to resist at all costs, and divided we fall, united we stand, as far as I'm concerned.
Can I just ask about this rally on the 24th? So it's going to be a march, speeches. Is there going to be an indoor get-together?
I think they're looking for a space just now for after the event where we can go and actually sit down and have a talk for people that do want to kind of get involved and help. There is also talk about the Friday before. Obviously, if people are traveling up, we can meet the Friday before or the Sunday after, and just kind of sit down. Because obviously, you know it's like yourself when you go to marches and meetings like this. You meet people and you have brief conversations, and you're like, I'd like to have went deeper into that conversation. So we're going to try and make space available so that after the march we can go and kind of sit down and maybe have a pint and whatever, and just kind of discuss what's going forward. And then obviously the more politically minded us will start strategizing as well, because we've got a big election coming up in Scotland in May. So we've got the Scottish general election coming up in May. So we'll be then, after January 24th, it'll be all burners go to get as many candidates kind of in positions where we want them. The ADF, I think we're going to be targeting 2 different regions, maybe 3 regions, and we're hoping to target kind of 10 or 12 constituency seats as well. So fingers crossed we'll pick up some speed closer to the time, do you know what I mean? It is harder for the smaller parties, so I do appreciate you having me on the night, boys, because it is good to get the word out there that there are some smaller, sensible parties out there that that are going to fight for what they've been asked to do, as opposed to what they've been told to do. Do you know what I mean?
Can I just ask Stuart? Stuart, are you cycling up on Friday or Saturday from Brighton to Glasgow?
Oh, if somebody can take me on the back on a tandem, because I don't have the power in the legs these days, but yeah, I'd love to come up there and have a pint or two. Ian, it's been great speaking with you. Good to have a good voice in the north, and I wish you all well for the future, and I hope the meeting goes well.
Thank you.
Paul, any last words?
No, it's been really good to have Ian on board. I think he's a man of the future. I think he's got a strong voice. I think he's got a vision. I think he's got some passion, some fire in his heart. And, God bless you, Ian, and more strength to you. And I'm really impressed with the Alliance of Democracy and Freedom. Everyone I've met from that, has been a really solid character. And I hope you do really well in Scotland in May, I hope you really make an impact, because Scotland needs bringing back to its roots. Thanks, Ian.
Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you very much. God bless you all. See you next Tuesday.